Today on Film Friday, we're creating dreamy lo-fi photos with this cheap 110 film camera. Hey everyone, Sean here, and welcome back to another episode of Film Friday. Now, I was at an antique store recently and I found this cheapo plastic 110 film camera. It was actually in its original cheap cardboard box. I'm gonna guess this was a very low cost camera that was probably given as gifts back in the day. Just a very generic, simple plastic 110 camera. It's called the PhotoFlex Pocket Camera Deluxe 110, so it's deluxe. There is nothing deluxe about this camera. It is super cheap, super plasticky, and I'm not even sure what field of view this camera has, because when I look through this viewfinder, it is insanely cropped in. It's like a 150 millimeter crop or like a 200 millimeter crop. And I just know that that's not accurate because this lens is pretty recessed. It's pretty close to where the 110 film plane goes. So I'm assuming this is actually a pretty wide angle lens. And that means that this viewfinder is just super cheapo. And really, it's probably just to kind of position the center of your frame. With a camera like this, basically you have no idea what you're gonna get. You just kind of point and shoot and hope for the best. And that's what I did. I loaded some Lomography Tiger 110 film in this camera, took it out when I was hanging out with my friend Mike the other day. We went to Chicago, we went to some ravines up in Wisconsin, and I was just snapping photos, not really sure what I was gonna get. And now let's take a look at what I got. I took these first two photos of Navy Pier in Chicago, and you can see right away this is a very soft lens. We're getting a lot of grain because it was low light, but also there's really nothing sharp. It is very soft, very dreamlike, although I do like the orange of this boat. Here's some photos I took in a winter forest. Cheap lenses like this can give you crazy lens flare, and that's definitely true here. Look at this wild flare. I knew I'd probably get a flare like this pointing the lens directly at the sun. Again, this is pretty soft. That's my friend Mike walking back in the distance. There is no sharpness on him whatsoever. It almost feels more like a painting of a forest. I'm not sure what happened here. It looks like the camera had a slight light leak, though this didn't happen to any of the other photos, which is a shame because I do like the composition of this shot. But I did get a second shot of this gorge, not as good, but this one did turn out pretty well. Again, it looks very painterly. Here's another crazy lens flare. We climbed to the top of a ridge looking out over a frozen lake. Crazy lens flare, kind of ruined the shot, but I should have known better pointing the lens directly at the sun again. And here's a photo inside a greenhouse. I do like the colors in this shot. I like the contrast of the dark greens of the cactus with the light blue jacket the person in the background is wearing. I'm always fascinated by the architecture of greenhouses, although in this case, the photo didn't really turn out that great. And this photo of this car flower display turned out okay. Again, it's very soft focus, but with this subject, it kind of actually works. We have a little bit of a lens flare too. Here's an interesting trimmed hedgerow with the clouds. The clouds were pretty blown out, so I didn't really get as good of a shot as I wanted. Another of Mike looking at the hedgerow, that's kind of interesting. And finally, here's an interior shot of light coming through a back door window. It's kind of beautiful, even though it is soft and super dreamlike. It is kind of comforting to look at. It almost feels like a liminal space image. Now, you could argue that using a cheap 110 film camera like this is kind of wasting film. 110 film can actually create some pretty good images if you're using a nicer camera. And there are a lot of nicer 110 cameras out there. So when I do use a camera like this, I have to go in knowing what I'm gonna get, knowing that I'm gonna get a very dreamy, lo-fi, soft, underexposed look. And I have to embrace that. And I did with these photos. I intentionally shot stuff that I knew would at least be interesting, even if it wasn't very good, you know, composing for interesting silhouettes, interesting rock formations, etc. And I did get some usable images. So all in all, I think this was a success. But again, if you are a film shooter and you want to try 110, definitely don't start with one of these cameras. You will be very discouraged. Start with a higher end 110 camera. The Minolta SLRs are pretty good. Lomography makes some pretty decent 110 cameras as well. I would definitely recommend starting with those first. And then if you want to get a dreamy lo-fi look, pick up one of these crummy little plastic 110 cameras from the 80s or 90s. You may get a couple good shots. Okay, thanks for watching this week's episode of Film Friday. Comment below, let me know if you shoot 110 film, what you think of it. If you would ever shoot with a cheapo camera like this, I'd love to know, so comment below. Plus, click here to subscribe to my YouTube channel to get more Film Friday videos just like this one. I'm Sean with Film Friday, and have fun shooting with cheapo 110 film cameras.